There we go.
Alrighty, we're live. Welcome, Emily and Raj.
Okay.
I'm Brett, founder of Elegance Group, and today we're going to have a really casual chat about modern service management, and talk about your journeys beyond IT with service management. So while the room fills up, I thought maybe we'll try and ask the audience, see where everyone's joining from. Maybe Emily and Raj, where are you guys joining from to kick things off?
I am down in sunny Wellington, New Zealand.
Thought it was windy
Awesome.
Wellington.
Not today.
Not today? That's very good. And Raj, what about yourself?
Yeah, I'm in sunny Sydney at the moment.
Oh, very good. Very
It's really
good.
sunny Sydney.
Oh, I might just jump onto the comments section to see, as the room fills up, where everyone else is joining from. And we'll give it a minute or two before we jump into it. But Raj, we haven't caught up this year. How's things going with you and Harrison?
Yeah, pretty good. It feels like we haven't actually had a break at Harrison.
Okay,
So it's all systems go at the moment. There's a whole bunch happening in the US for us. More customers onboarding around the world. So yeah, super challenging time.
Oh, that's
right now.
awesome.
Just sets us up. Yeah, it's really great. Really great traction globally.
I'm sure we'll dive into that a little bit more into the webinar. I see we've got Auckland, Tauranga, Silverdale, Melbourne. That's great. Grant, hello, welcome. Very cool. Emily, did you end up getting a break yourself over the holiday?
Yeah, I did actually, but it feels like a long time ago now. So I can definitely relate to that non-stop kind of feeling.
Oh, amazing. Oh, Ruakaka Beach. Wow, living the life. What a view, eh? Very cool. We'll give it another minute. Tell me, what was your favorite thing about the holiday break, Emily?
Oh, well, we actually just had a long weekend up the Kapiti coast for Waitangi weekend
cool.
here in New Zealand. So that's always nice with all the family at the beach. It's not far away from us, but just far enough that it still feels like a little holiday.
Yeah. Oh, very cool. Raj, did you do anything special for Australia Day?
Yeah, actually, we went up to the Sunshine Coast. So it was actually my birthday on the 22nd of January. Nicely took off
happy
the
birthday.
23rd and
Very cool.
managed to get a five days off. So that was pretty cool.
Oh, wow.
That's great.
Yeah, how good. Oh, that's really cool. All right. Well, we seem to have a few people in the room filling up, so that's looking pretty good. I might just introduce the session and kick it off from there. And as people fill in, they can join in, let us know where they're from, and answer questions along the way. But just to set the scene, this is going to be like a really casual chat. And to the audience, we really encourage your engagement. Ask some questions, get involved. This is really sort of a panel discussion where you can chat with people that are doing the walk as opposed to talking about doing it. And it's going to be quite interesting to see and hear about two different journeys and how they are transforming their companies respectively. So to kick things off, the session's about Jira Service Management and how it's changed massively as a product throughout 2025 and continues to evolve. The latest offerings from Atlassian are now bundled products. And the latest bundled product is the Service Collection, and the direction of that towards true service, enterprise service management. And so many teams are asking the same question: how do we take JSM beyond just IT and use it to drive better service across the whole organization? So this is really going to be a customer-led webinar. It's quite exciting to hear from both Emily and Raj. And they've got they're at two different paths in their journey right now. Harrison AI actively exploring JSM beyond IT, and we're going to hear from Raj about what that looks like. And Xero are really doing it, and quite far through this process, but now expanding, beyond IT. And we're going to hear a little bit more about from Emily around what other teams are using it and how that journey is taking place. So we'll understand a little bit more from both of them. Again, we'll hear about challenges, nuances, and what other things they're doing throughout the calendar of 2026. And you'll hear some practical insights, real lessons, and a real clear view on what modern service management looks like as the service collection from Atlassian continues to evolve. So without further ado, welcome, Emily and Raj. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
It's really good to connect with you both again. You both look wonderful. So to kick things off, could you please introduce yourself? We'll start with Emily.
Sure. Thanks for having me, Brett. I'm Emily Ward, the Senior Product Manager in the Product Development and Support Systems team at Xero. I've been at Xero about 5 years now, and my role is really to look after the Atlassian platform alongside my team for our Xeros and make sure that we're getting the most value out of it.
Awesome.
So Raj Buva, I head up the global IT team here at Harrison AI and group of companies. So for those of you that haven't come across Harrison, we're an AI company in the healthcare space, primarily in the diagnostic imaging. So today we process 1 in 2 Australian chest x-rays through our systems, and about a third of the UK NHS chest x-rays. We also provide coverage across emergency departments in Hong Kong for head trauma. So we really are sort of starting to become embedded in the infrastructure of healthcare globally. Now, from a Jira perspective, so my team look after our Atlassian suite of tools, and obviously Brett helped us very much last year with the critical amount of migration work that we did. So yeah, that's a little bit about me and what we do.
Amazing. And Raj, just continue on. Can you give us a bit of a snapshot of Harrison, but particularly how you're using JSM today, or where perhaps you are in that journey of assessing JSM as a service management tool?
Yeah, actually, it's a little bit backwards, right? So from an IT perspective, we already had Freshdesk as our ITSM tool in-house. So a lot of the automations and flows had already been built into that. And it was really a business driver for us from a regulatory perspective to move on to JSM. So actually one of the first teams that jumped onto JSM for us was our regulatory team. And they were really looking for early on a way for our end customers to be able to log cases or log non-conformances within basically back to us. And right now, we're probably sitting at around 6 teams actively using JSM, excluding IT, right? So
interesting.
Regulatory team, marketing team, our platform support engineering team. Recently, our analytics team have set up a JSM instance as well there. And probably in the last week or so, our P&C team have taken the leap of faith and set up a JSM instance there as well.
That's really awesome. And roughly how many people across those 7 teams now would that be?
Oh, now you're asking the tricky question.
Put you on the spot, haven't I?
Yeah, that's
tough
right.
questions.
Yeah, that's right. So we're about 300 staff globally. So we're not a huge organization, and probably as it relates to those teams, we're probably talking about 30 to 40 people across the organization actively within JSM.
Oh. Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks for that. And Emily, switching over to you, Xero is at a completely different scale. Tell us a little bit more about how Xero is using JSM today.
Yeah, so we've got a roughly 5,000 Xeros spread all across the world. And in terms of JSM, we have about 500-ish agents, and that's across 10 different teams. So we've been on JSM since about this time a year ago, and it's always been a mix of teams. So we do have a IT team on there. We've got HR, finance, all sorts of different teams right from the start. I guess separate to Raj. We're using it in internal only use case, so it's not to collaborate with external customers, but it's just for our own Xeros to get help.
And Emily, what was the original sort of problem or set of opportunities that were identified that JSM could help solve? What, like if you think back to a year ago, or maybe even it was before that when this started, what did success look like with a new product or a new service management outlook for Xero?
Yeah, so we had previously been using a different tool for a number of years and sort of built it out to suit our needs, but that increased a lot of complexity. So really we needed something that was more out of the box, fit for purpose, that we could all come together and standardize on. So it was really about consolidating all support, internal support onto one platform. And the driver for that really was to make it easier for Xeros to get support, because we'd heard a lot, especially from new Xeros, that it was confusing to know which team to go to for what thing. Is it on Slack? Is it on, where is it that I get help?
No, that's really good to know. I think that's a pretty sort of common story, but it's really, it's good to hear that that is actually still real in this day and age, and that's a way to get in the door with JSM and that service collection.
Yeah,
What about
totally.
yourself, Raj? You guys have used a variety of Atlassian products over the years. What was it about JSM that piqued the interest and wanted, got you to want to explore more?
Yeah, I think really it was the low barrier to entry for us. We already had agents using it or experimenting with. Our engineering teams use Jira. So from like a workflow perspective, it made sense for any, say, product non-conformances to come through and then be linked back into a Jira issue for our engineering team support to the backlog to then go off and solve. So that workflow really, really helped there, I think.
Yeah. And did you guys have an idea of what success might look like, as opposed to perhaps the incumbent tools or solutions that you were using at the time when you decided to explore JSM more seriously?
Yeah, it was really that low barrier to entry. We really wanted champions within each of the departments to be able to self-serve. We didn't want them to come to the IT team every time they needed to make a change, etc. And then each of the portals themselves needed to be able to be fully customizable to the workflow for that particular team. So if you look at it from an IT perspective only, you're talking about issues and tickets. If you're looking at it from a marketing perspective, it's more campaigns and approvals for budgets. And then when you look at it from a regulatory side of things, you're really talking about non-conformances. So they no longer become issues within your environment. So you really need that customizability to be able to service that type of internal customer.
It sounds like, Raj, that the moment, I suppose, the thinking changed is like the topic of this next question. But it sounds like early on, Harrison identified that JSM is actually could be used for multiple departments and services. So how did Harrison identify that so early on? I mean, as you mentioned before, there was IT normally takes on JSM first in an organization, but actually for Harrison, it was the reverse. It was a non-IT team, which is unusual, but really good. So how did that come about? Who was exploring that, and why did that come about in that way for Harrison?
Yeah, I think it became a question of need at that point in time, right? Like we could have gone out to market, evaluated the whole suite of tools. We could have looked at ServiceNow. We could have looked at the add-ons for Salesforce, etc. But at the size and scale that we were at the time, it made sense to use tools that existed in our business already today at a relatively good price point for the value that you're actually gaining from that tool. So that was really the thinking. It was, do we go out there and explore really large enterprise-grade tooling for what we need today? Or do we put in JSM now to fill and fix those gaps that we have? And then as we scale up, then look to potentially move away, or then look to expand the capability within JSM. And I think we really found that there's probably no need for us to move away, even at the current scale that we're at.
And so would you say then that because you were using Jira and Confluence at the time, it just made it that much easier to adopt a new product into the suite and then connect all that information?
Yeah, like it's super challenging, right? Bringing in additional systems just is more of a learning curve for our teams. If they're already used to the tools, they're already using and interacting with engineering teams on the same tools, having that extension for them to be able to have that same capability within their own teams made absolute sense.
Yeah. No, I completely understand that. And then now, am I right in understanding that IT is exploring JSM as their sort of work management tool or service management tool?
Yeah, that's the idea. Once we get to that point, right? Like the thing that we have within Freshdesk at the moment is a lot of our automation flows through Freshdesk, and we're trying to abstract a lot of that away from that. The automation and workflow layer should be abstracted away as much as you can, I think, from that end service management tool that you're looking to use. There may be some automations and workflows that you build that are tool specific that stay within that same ecosystem. But that's where we are at the moment. So abstract away some of those non-Freshdesk, non-JSM related workflows, and then look to put that JSM tooling across your processes.
Oh, that's really cool. And we'll switch over to Emily now. You've had a more traditional approach to JSM, and it started with IT, if I recall correctly. But tell us a little bit more around how Xero has sort of adopted this thinking of how could it do more than just IT? Like who are your champions? How has that come about? What sort of triggered that shift within your organization?
Yeah, when we launched JSM, we sort of brought IT on board and a lot of core other teams. So the likes of our HR team, platform, like facilities. So there was a bit of a shift from our previous tool to JSM, and a launch and everything like that. And I think introducing some of the tools like Rovo and showing what we can do with AI in that space is a bit of a carrot to entice other teams onto the platform. And I think it's just having consistent messaging across key stakeholders that this is the way that we've decided to do ticketing at Xero. So, it makes sense to come and join us. And our IT team are innovating a lot and sort of trying new things, different agents to, give AI answers to tickets when they're raised. So looking at a lot of that kind of innovation and opportunities there is a big draw card, I think, for other teams to think, oh, well, that could actually work for us.
And was any sort of part of that decision or influenced by this concept of tooling sprawl? Well, maybe not so much of a concept, but it is quite real.
Yeah.
And Raj, chime in as well, mate. But tooling sprawl and cost extrapolation is quite a real thing. And there's been, a bit of a change in the economy over the last couple of years. I think it's fair to say. So, Emily, how did maybe the tooling sprawl impact that decision? Was it real for you guys, or was it quite simple just to shift to JSM because you were already using some of the products within the platform?
I mean, it's a bit of both, really. We're big Confluence and Jira shop, so there's that obvious like efficiencies and benefits to be gained by sort of consolidating on the platform. But the tooling sprawl is definitely a very real thing for us too. And I think from a cost perspective, but then also talking about context switching of agents who are answering tickets, having to get information from different apps and from here and there. If we can pull it all into one place, it just makes things simpler for them. So I think that was a big plus for us, thinking about bringing in asset information and sort of all the other opportunities that we're looking at going forward.
Yeah. And the ability to serve your customers, i.e. your own internal staff, more seamlessly, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Raj, is that a similar story for you guys? Did it make so much more sense just to go to JSM because of this, this data lake of information that you can just tap into?
Yeah, I think you've hit a raw nerve with me when it comes to tooling sprawl. Everyone wants to go out and get their credit card and go after the shiny new toy, right? And it's very challenging from an IT perspective to rein that in. We're a very highly regulated entity, being in the healthcare space, especially as it relates to our products, but also as it relates to our vendors, our suppliers. We have a pretty stringent process as it comes to supply and vendor onboarding that we must adhere to. I don't think necessarily people in the business understand the processes that we need to go to make sure that we're ISO compliant, SOC 2 compliant, HIPAA compliant, GDPR in Europe. So those piles of compliance and letters just build up, and the more tools that we bring into the environment, the more challenging it becomes for us. So probably around a couple of years ago, we went on a bit of a journey outside of JSM just to consolidate down as many tools as we possibly can into say larger enterprise level platforms such as like Zoom and Atlassian suite, etc. So it just makes it a lot easier from an administrative and management perspective, from an IT side of things, and then also from a business perspective, right? Where users automatically know where to go for what service that they need, or what tool to use as it relates to that.
Yeah, simplifying employee experience to get what they need first time, I think, is a massive win for organizations of all sizes. Emily, question for you. We've actually got a question that's just popped up here from Simon Douglas. Thanks for the question, Simon. So this is to you, Emily and Raj, so either of you or both of you, please feel free to answer this one. Are either of you currently utilizing analytics, so Atlassian Analytics, and AI integration to develop greater self-serve or self-help for users across the stack with Rovo?
We are definitely using Rovo, not so much the analytics side of it, but a number of our teams started using the virtual service agent within Slack to, reference knowledge and provide AI answers there. I think we're sort of outgrown that now. Like, it's a good out-of-the-box feature that you can just sort of plug and play, but next week we're going to be trialing our own Rovo agent, which is way more customizable for the IT team. You can sort of, it can reference tickets and do much more than what the virtual service agent can do. And we're also putting a lot of focus on how we more systematically maintain our Confluence knowledge bases. So it's not just like once a year sort of review of it all, but we can kind of ensure it's up to date and relevant for AI, so that those answers are going to be consistently good and not just, degrade over time, I guess. But so we're looking at how we can do that, and also how we can use ticket data to see what gaps there are in our knowledge base and how can we fill those using AI.
Yes, you're actually using Rovo to help you bridge those gaps and also make sure that your content's up to date and relatable, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And Raj, have you started the journey of AI within the Atlassian platform? Have you looked at analytics yet? Tell us a little bit more about the self-help sort of pathway for Harrison.
Yeah, absolutely. So not so much on the analytics side of things yet. Late last year, we actually kicked off the AI enablement strategy for the entire organization. And as part of that, your team there, Brett, came in and gave us a full demo of the Rovo AI agent capabilities within the Atlassian suite. And then we effectively had like a week just before we broke up for the break, where it was like an AI hackathon week. AI hackathon week was not for our AI engineers. They could join if they wanted, but it was primarily for business users to basically show them how easy it is to set up self-service Rovo agents, etc. So we went through loads of teams built little Rovo agents. Thanks to your team there, Brett, giving us insights on how that can be achieved. And we had some really cool agents that are actually built with the relevant skills for particular departments, right? Like very niche teams like regulatory and FDA approval. We had teams basically using the Confluence knowledge bases to be able to pull out documents and pull data from various places. And then we ourselves in the IT team built a little rover agent that will help you to self-serve tickets and raise them actually within Freshdesk, because that's the system that we have today as part of that flow. So we haven't deployed it into production yet. There's still a little bit of work to be done, but we're definitely on that journey now.
That's amazing. How did that influence culture or in the non-IT business teams? I mean, that must be so new perhaps to a lot of them. Building an agent, like that's an IT task, right? I mean, what did that how did that affect Harrison, having those business teams in there engaging with IT? And has that sort of accelerated that sort of thinking for how this platform could be used for them a bit more?
Yeah, absolutely, right. So the way that I'm looking at it is that the building of agents should be democratized across the business. The people that actually have the knowledge of the team are the people that work in the team. So they're actually best placed to say, hey, what are the skills that are needed for this agent to be able to run and service my internal customers? So there has been a little bit more of a step change over the last couple of months in some of this capability. We actually now have a fully fledged AI task force across the business, and these are some of the initiatives that they bring to the task force team, which is people across the entire business, right? We're talking about HR, some people from the test team. We have EAs in there, a couple of reps from IT, some sales people in there as well, marketing team members are in there. So it's more of like a higher level of thinking of how can we turn Harrison AI into a fully AI native business.
That's amazing. Almost like an AI first methodology, right? And that's an incredible pathway. Emily, just coming back to you and how Xero sort of adopted JSM outside of IT. Why did the first team, so legal was the first department that adopted JSM outside of IT? Could you just tell us a little bit more around why that made sense for Xero at the time, and what kind of value that you thought that would actually help address in the organization? Was it an efficiency thing? Was it cost cutting? Was it something totally different?
Yeah, I think there was a few sort of timing things that lined up nicely. So the team actually approached us to come on to the platform while we were onboarding, teams from our incumbent tool. So that was, having a motivation from them, like they've recognized that their workflow needs improving. And they can kind of see in what we're doing that there's opportunities for them. That was really helpful. And I think, our legal team is a big team of teams. So there's a big opportunity there with a large group of people to really streamline and simplify their ways of working. I mean, being at legal, it's high value, there's risk involved, it's complex, there's often time bound, lots of collaboration between different teams. So I think there was clear benefits just with the nature of the work to add a more robust method for them to manage their matters in the workflow. Things like being able to track work more easily, prioritize things clearly, just gives them more time to work on the actual matters rather than organizing and allocating work out to the right people.
And do you have any other sort of candidate teams perhaps on the horizon that are looking to take on JSM?
Yeah, so perhaps procurement, our data team as well. So we've got a list of like quite large teams and also smaller teams to come on. We've also looked at it for maybe business processes that cross a number of teams, so not necessarily, just narrowed down to teams.
Yeah. And Raj, to you, I mean, as you've described, you actually had a lot of non-IT teams starting to use JSM first. IT's in this process now. What other candidates are out there for Harrison, and what kind of problems are there existing problems with them using other tools, and would JSM solve those?
Yeah, so I think I may have to hit up Emily after this webinar just on what happened with the legal team out. I was actually in a call the other week. We're trying to move all operational teams onto the JSM platform. There's a little bit of pushback from our legal team. They really want to have like that customer experience and service level. And I think they have almost been convinced that this is the right way to go. They do tend to get a lot of direct Slack messages and direct emails. And it was raised that actually that's quite challenging, right? Like if you have a matter to be dealt with, they already have an existing system in LawView where all matters and contract reviews, etc., go through, and it's pretty robust process. And actually, that's the right tooling for them. But then you have to think about what's actually the entry point. Do I go to our head of legal to raise a case, or like how do we direct that? And that was kind of the sell point. Like this should come into like a centralized point, and then you and your team can actually manage how that work is allocated and rebalanced. Otherwise, it becomes super challenging for the rest of the business to. We don't know what work you guys are working through at the moment, right?
It's quite interesting that you mentioned that, Raj. It kind of rolls perfectly onto the sort of next question that we had lined up, which was around that sort of stakeholder engagement. How do you get new teams onto JSM, especially non-IT teams? You know, you're talking about legal now. It's fantastic, and I do hope that you both connect after this. But you know, have you got to the point where you know what go or no-go criteria looks like for legal to get into JSM? What do the legal stakeholders need to see? What does that look like for an organization like Harrison?
Yeah, I think it's still to be explored. Like I was mentioning earlier, every team's workflows are different. Every jargon within those teams are different. So I think we need to really show the value that actually JSM is not just an IT tool. This is a business tool that can be used to enable all teams, right? So I think stepping through that journey and that change management piece with them is really going to help them to come across with the go, no go. But deriving the value from other teams in the operational space, showing how the P&C teams, relatively small team, but how they've managed to scale themselves up just by bringing in these efficiencies of ticket flow or matter flow effective for the legal team.
Maybe, Emily, you could tell us a little bit more around how that process went for legal. I mean, they approached you, but you still had to get them on board and show them value, I imagine, to make sure that the conversation did land and that they were confident that this new system was going to improve their sort of work experience rather than degrade it, right? So how did that happen? And did that maybe influence momentum for other teams?
Yeah, so my superpower on the team is being the non-technical person on the technical team. So there's no chance of me spitting out jargon that others don't understand. So, and I'm obviously the non-legal person too. So it's really about distilling and understanding what are the roots, what are the problems that they're trying to fix, what are their requirements, and then as simply as possible trying to transfer them into, okay, how can they be solved within JSM? And it's not hard to spin. I say it's not hard. It's not hard for someone on the team to spin up something in Sandbox and actually show them to say, okay, this is what it would look like. So I think using examples, even just to visualize a workflow, can make things less daunting, because when you're coming onto JSM and you hear about portals and request types and all sorts of things, it's like, what is this? I think as much as you can show them, it's and using, like you said, Raj, using their own language as well, to show how things would work and what it would be like for agents and for the lawyers, for users as well.
Did you have to make many changes to the portal or the workflows or request types to suit legal? Was there a template that you started with? How did that come about? How were you able to showcase that to them so that it resonated with them, that they could really use this?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. I mean, on the portal, we're providing a lot more sort of contextual guidance for users. We're all pretty well-versed at raising tickets to IT and, HR for things. But certainly if I need to contact the legal team, it's kind of like, who do I go to for what? So just, using those prompts that you can put in the portal to give a bit more guidance on what this actually is, we are finding is really helpful. And doing things like making use of landing pages within the portal, just so there's sort of an extra step and a bit more information and context for people to find the right way. And then I think also acknowledging that things will get logged incorrectly, or they will go to the wrong team just by nature of how things are, and making sure that we have clear, solid workflows to get those things either back on track or sort of anticipate where the user would potentially go, and then be able to direct them to the right place.
And a question for you, Emily, just from myself, have you explored the multiple help centers feature yet? I was curious actually if any of our clients have used that multiple help centers feature as opposed to having one help center sort of landing page with the multiple different projects with the different categories.
No, we haven't, but it is something we could keep in mind. I mean, we're trying to keep all things in one place, but I suppose it's an option. It's nice to have an option, isn't it, in the future if we find that doesn't work. We're kind of trying to go in, keep things simple, not over-design it for every possible outcome, and then just say, okay, now that we've started simple, are there things that are not working? Do we need to add more on, rather than going in too complex from the start?
Yeah, simple is good, right, with JSM, because it can do everything. So a bit of a double-edged sword, right? Raj, I'm hearing what sort of Emily had to say there around legal. Do you think there's some takeaways there that you could maybe go back to the legal team with to really convince them that this is the right way to go?
Yeah, I think what we need to do is set up a call with Emily's legal team and just have like a show and tell.
I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I think definitely there's lots to take away. I think one of the key problems that we're trying to solve from a legal team perspective is that knowledge. Like, people aren't aware of the information that's already available within Confluence that relate to many of the teams. And you mentioned earlier, Emily, around how you're going through and doing cleanup of knowledge and archiving, etc. We're actually going through the same process at the moment ourselves. And the primary goal and the reason for that is, as you do that and as you optimize that knowledge that lives within your knowledge repositories, Confluence, SharePoint, whatever that case may be, you're then able to overlay that with ticketing systems or service systems, self-service, or AI agents, right? AI agents love clean knowledge to be able to give correct and responsive answers to what you have. And also having that single entry point makes a lot of sense. I haven't fully explored what that could look like for us at the moment. Something that we are actively exploring is the company hub feature within Confluence, so that everyone knows where to go and how to access knowledge and raise support requests or matters or whatever the case might be.
No, that sounds really cool. Have you, Raj, experienced any sort of particular challenges with adopting JSM in either types of team, non-IT or IT? And what are some of the things from maybe previous experiences that you want to try and nail with the adoption of JSM across these teams? Is it change management? Is it permissions or ownership? What are some of those key things that make these changes really successful?
Yeah, I think you really need champions within the teams to sort of drive some of the adoption here. Change management is always super critical, not just for the team itself, but out to the rest of the business, right? Bringing everyone on that journey to say, hey, this is the new entry point. This is how you now raise a request with the PNC team or with the legal team. Everyone, especially at Harrison, and I'm sure everyone at Xero as well, are super busy, and they're very focused on the things that they're doing to achieve the goals that they need for their team and their part of the business. So getting people to adjust and say, hey, actually, now this is a new way of doing things, and then communicating that across the organization can become difficult. So like I said earlier, going back to having that single entry point with, say, stuff like Company Hub can help with those things. But yeah, change management is always super challenging.
And Emily, you've been on this journey perhaps a little bit longer than Harrison with Xero. And what are some of the bigger challenges that you guys have faced? And leading into that next question, how have you been making it work? What has been like really critical and successful for Xero?
Yeah, I think what you said, Raj, having champions and collaborating with the teams is a big one. So we made sure that when we were sort of planning our move onto JSM and continuing now that we're a year and a bit into using JSM, and that we're still working very closely with those teams to try and understand, where are the pain points and what can we do to improve. And I think, bringing on new teams, it's trying to give them as much authority as possible while still not throwing them in the deep end and saying, make all your own decisions. So, bringing them into sandbox early to see how things could work, but also sharing best practice from other teams, like which queues you should have, basic automations, workflows, so they're not having to come at it starting from scratch. And also, I think, just to finish off there, like being clear on what's MVP, because there's so many opportunities, right? There's sort of like endless things you can do. Saying, okay, let's get these things in place to start with, and then go from there and see what the biggest opportunities are to improve the experience.
Yeah, nice. We've got another audience question from Simon Douglas. Thanks, Simon. Simon says, have you considered the use of insights assets and JSM integrations to enable domain level compliance as a form of legal perspective? Compliance is a key link between tech and legal. Maybe that's best suited to you, Raj, or Emily. I mean, you're both just about to bring legal on. So do you have any kind of insights there for Simon at all? Tricky one.
Yeah, I mean, my answer is pretty simple, which is no, but it sounds like I think I want to screenshot this question and come back to it like once we're sort of on board and say, okay, this sounds like an opportunity that perhaps we might want to explore.
Yeah, and if I read into it, if I read into it correctly, my understanding, and Simon chime in as well, is how are you, or how will you perhaps leverage assets as the key link between tech and legal, referencing those with automation or with Rovo, so that information and your assets are maintained, but also referenced through knowledge and Confluence and what have you. But we might have to come back to you on that one, Simon, but a great question nonetheless. So Emily, as you prepare to bring legal onto JSM next month, what are you expecting? What do you have specific targets from this expansion? Do you have success criteria? How are you going to measure, and how is Xero going to know that this transition is successful?
Yeah, I think a lot of it will be feedback from the legal team themselves and how they're finding this new workflow compared to previous. We don't have sort of fixed targets at the moment, although it'd probably be good to get some and start exploring those. But certainly things like smoother collaboration between legal and other teams, clearer view of the matters and more visible workflows. And then I think moving on to then using IT and starting to get using AI and starting to get AI answering legal questions, and that's sort of a more tangible measure that we can start looking at as well.
And Raj, for yourself, you're probably at the start of that journey with legal, but what does that look like for them? Is it similar, or are there other things that you might be looking for with the legal team?
Yeah, definitely echoes some of what Emily's saying there, right? Fundamentally, we were looking for like a unified service experience for the legal team that aligns with the rest of the operations team. I think we need to be able to provide better visibility to leadership to say, hey, this is the flow of work, these are the resource requirements, etc. This is where the bottleneck sits at the moment. Many times we may have requests or contracts that need to go through review for some of our customers, and the sales team are not necessarily in the detail to understand what the delay might be. So having that visibility definitely helps significantly. I'd say another factor would be around the reduction in tooling cost overall. Just generally from if we were to bring in, say, a Harvey AI versus do we build our own knowledge base and have the Rover agents sit across the top of that? What does that look like from a comparison perspective.
Mm.
And then overall, the goal is for quicker, faster throughput, right? Like you should have a reduction from a business perspective on your sales cycle time, for example, from a contract review perspective. If I'm onboarding a new vendor, perhaps it shouldn't take 3 to 4 weeks for that matter to get reviewed and pushed back. Having clear benchmarks on what that looks like, where we started and where we ended up.
No, that's really interesting. And we're just going to jump ahead a little bit. I'm just conscious of time. We're talking about the value that you're delivering internally. What advice then would you have to other JSM customers or other companies considering JSM in the service collection, if perhaps you're advising them on their JSM roadmap for this year? Give us your top 2 thoughts, top 2 or 3 thoughts. Emily, maybe start with you.
Yeah, I think one is kind of foundational. So making sure that you've got the basics right. So being a year into JSM, we've got a bit of a retrospective look at what's gone well and what perhaps needs changing. So for example, we've got 2 teams at the moment working out of the one project when probably they should be in 2 separate projects. So rather than trying to add complexity by working around that and putting in different rules and automations to send tickets, just making sure that you're actually happy with how things lie is foundational, and doing things, we're going, hopefully we'll move those 2 teams into their own projects. So, being clear on that kind of stuff. And then I think once you've got that more boring stuff, I would say, out the way, then, moving on to seeing how you can use more exciting things like AI in the workflows and sort of extending it out and integrating with other tools, I think would be the 2 from me.
So last question then, is there a particular thing that you wish you perhaps had done or considered earlier in this journey?
I think it's being clear on what you're trying to achieve when you're coming to JSM. So I think if we had stuck a bit harder to we're going to take a user perspective and design this best for users, and be a bit stronger around that rather than what is best for teams, then I think we probably wouldn't find ourselves so much in that position.
And Raj, what is your sort of practical, no fluff advice for a newbie on the JSM scene?
Yeah, I think similar to what Emily is saying, just off the back of the learning that she's gained there, is that if you think of JSM as an experience platform rather than a ticketing system, that sort of changes the paradigm on how you do that implementation, taking that user experience perspective first, and then building for the teams off the back of that. And the same way that you build any sort of tech startup, right? That they go and evaluate, build the MVP, understand what the user needs, and then take that and then go ahead and implement it.
So what's next for Harrison and Raj? What's the big dream for 2026? And by Christmas this year, what is your ultimate success look like for you as it relates to your sort of your user experience platform, we'll call it?
So we want to be in a position where all of our teams know where to go for all requests. There's no double handling of requests. Every individual team member knows that if you want something done from an operations perspective, this is the entry point. This is where I go and get knowledge. This is the questions I need to ask of a rover agent from a service management perspective, with the instant answer. So that whole self-service piece should be pretty critical, right? That you should get to the point where actually a end user doesn't necessarily need to even raise the ticket, because most requests are just hey, here's a question for you, I don't know how to do a thing, right? So if you can solve for that immediately, that takes that 20 to 30% of your inflow off the table immediately. And then any actual tickets that come through will be things that need actual dedicated human in the loop to work through.
it's continual optimization of the workforce, right? Getting people, leveraging and working with our people on those higher value tasks, and letting AI take charge of the level 0, the level 1 stuff that can be quickly answered with our information that we host and maintain. And Emily, finally to you, what does your year look like with Xero? You've got legal next. I imagine there's a queue of teams perhaps in a pipeline. What's the next team for onboarding, and what sort of improvements are you looking to achieve from JSM this year?
Yeah, it's kind of a +1 to what Raj has said there, with making it simpler and using AI to deflect as many questions as possible. We are hoping to bring more teams sort of onto the back end, but then from a user perspective, I guess consolidating further. So perhaps just asking. Currently, we have various Slack channels. That's sort of one entry point into asking and getting a ticket raised, or going into our help hub, of course, and raising a ticket there. But we kind of want to make it even simpler by just having one front door, wherever that may be, that you can just ask that question, and it gets answered by AI, great, or it doesn't, and then the ticket's raised and it just goes where it needs to go without the user having to take that step and say, okay, this is an IT question, or this is legal, and this is like this legal team that I need to ask. So that's sort of what we're hoping for this year.
Yeah. No, those are fantastic goals, and I'm excited to see and observe and maybe contribute, hopefully, into your journeys around AI, JSM, service collection, and our philosophy at Elegance Group is all around helping companies do more with less. We sort of had that theme last year, but for us, it's really around how can we help optimize your operations, whether it's through advice or guidance, whether it's some cool automations or custom config. But to both your points, keeping it simple, that user experience is so critical, even more so in this day and age. The dollar goes less, so we need to be really clever about how we spend our money, invest our time, and need to be quite critical on ourselves on what success looks like. It's not about solving the world. It's micro steps every week, every month, and just building up a bit of a snowball effect through our organizations. So I'm definitely looking forward to it, and I can't wait to see how both your organizations continue to evolve. And I just really want to thank you both for your time today. It's been awesome to catch up again, and really, really appreciate it. Looking forward to seeing what you're going to do this year, and I look forward to being over in Sydney later this year and down in Wellington as well.
Awesome. Thanks for having us, Brett. Yeah. Nice to meet you, Raj. I'm sure we'll be speaking after this.
Yes, I think I have an introduction to do. So thank you very much both. And thank you to the audience. It's been great to have you here. Thank you for all your questions. And we hope you got some great takeaways from this.